Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is another episode of the Championship Roundup, guys. So today we have some pretty massive fixtures to talk over, guys, and we had quite a controversial weekend in my opinion. We had a lot of big decisions that were made this weekend, which I'm very interested to hear your opinion on. So guys, this video is going to be split into two parts. So the first half of the video is going to be me rounding up all the fixtures that have already taken place, you know, the majority of them taking place on the Friday, and then the second half of the video are going to be my score predictions for the games taking place on Easter Monday. So what I'd love to know from you guys is, first of all, what did you make of your team's performance at the weekend? I'll be very interested to know. As well as that, what are your score predictions for the games which are coming up on Monday, guys? So I'll leave all the fixtures that are taking place on Monday in the description down below, so then you guys can easily go ahead and make your predictions. What I'd also love to know from you guys is, who do you think scored the goal of the weekend, and what did you think was the result of the weekend? I'll be revealing what I thought they were at the end of the video, but I'll be interested to know what you guys had to say. So just before we do get into any of my analysis, guys, of this weekend's action, I will include your comments on screen now. So fair play to everyone who did correctly guess a scoreline this weekend. I think it was quite a tough week in my opinion to get a scoreline correct, because like I said, we had a lot of unpredictability going on this week, and I think on more occasions than ever I was really close to getting a scoreline right, and then the last minute goal would be scored or something stupid like that. So a fair play to everyone that got a score prediction right. Let's get into some of the action. So guys, the first game that we have to talk over is the game taking place between Wigan Athletic and Barnsley. So this game was just an absolute mental game taking place. Of course, this was the game taking place on Thursday night, guys, and what I'd love to know from you guys is, do Wigan still have a chance of survival this year? Let me know down below, guys, because really, if Wigan were to lose this game, I'd say that it probably would have been lights out. I mean, especially when you look over Wigan's running from now until the end of the season, compared to the other teams at the bottom of the table, they definitely don't have a favourable running. What I found quite funny was that when Barnsley were actually winning 2-0, the Barnsley Twitter account went ahead and put this tweet up, talking about how the Barnsley fans were chanting how it's like watching Brazil, and then they go ahead and bottle it and throw it away. But we've got to give a lot of credit to Wigan in this one. I mean, twice now for Wigan, Nick Powell has been the saviour for them, and you know, if they're going to have any hope of survival this year, a lot of it is going to be pinned down to this guy. You know, we saw what he did against Rotherham last time out, and he's just come up with the magic again, managing to score a hat-trick, getting his first goal in the 71st minute, and then getting his third goal in the 82nd minute is absolutely sublime for him. And overall, it was a terrific performance from Nick Powell. Barnsley, I thought, were very, you know, suspect at the back late on. I thought they started to get a bit shaky really when Wigan got the first one back, and then, like we say, the rest was history. Fair play to Wigan. And then going into our next game, guys, we had Brentford, who came up against Derby County. Now, I did actually say in my preview of this game that I did think that Brentford would give Derby a real run for their money in this one, and in the end, they did of course do just that with the 4-0 victory. Now, I saw Derby County's last performance that they had against Birmingham City, and in that game I did think that they were quite fortunate to get the result in the end really, and I could see quite a lot of similarities taken over from that performance, the disappointing one against Birmingham, into this one against Brentford again. I really thought that Derby were off the paces in this one, and Brentford, you know, were able to take full advantage of that. VB managed to come up twice for Brentford. He showed his clinical nature in front of goal this season, and Jota as well, managing to get 2 as well. He has been fantastic since he's come back on loan. Jota has been absolutely exceptional for Brentford, and if they can keep hold of him for next season, who knows what's possible. If you get maybe a bit more quality in and around Jota, he'll be an absolute star next season for Brentford. I'm absolutely convinced by it. But VB as well, I think when he is given the chance, you know, he's shown this season for Brentford what he's capable of, and overall 4-0 Brentford, it was a fair scoreline, I thought. And then talking about another scoreline which I did think was pretty fair in the end, we have Bristol City, who managed to get another victory. This time they managed to dismantle Queen's Park Rangers by 2-1. Now, I've got to say, Bristol City really do seem to have shown a reaction after that horror show they had against Preston North End when they did lose 5-0, and it really has been their home form this season which is keeping them above the relegation zone. And you know, they've continued to show that this season, that especially lately, like their last probably 4 performances at home have actually been very decent to say the least. And it was Pack and Patterson who got the goals for Bristol City in this one today, and you could probably tell in this one really that QPR don't have anything to play for. It was a bit of a lethargic performance from QPR, which I think is fair to say, and Bristol City, you can tell, still have everything to play for. Of course, they're not yet safe. They're not out of the relegation zone. On Monday, they actually are playing Blackburn Rovers, which is going to be a massive fixture. I'm really looking forward to that one, but I do get the impression that if they beat Blackburn on Monday, I think Bristol City could be safe then. And then talking over our next fixture, guys, we had Huddersfield Town 3, Preston North End 2, and oh my word. Oh, where do I start with this one, guys? Of course, I did go to this match, and obviously myself being a Preston North End fan, I was absolutely gutted at this one. Of course, Huddersfield managed to win the match in the end, thanks to a last-minute penalty. They actually missed the penalty, but they managed to score the rebound in the 96th minute, which was just absolutely devastating. But talking over how the general flow of this game went, Huddersfield, of course, had the majority of the possession and chance in this game, which is to be expected, you know, really. I don't think anyone was expecting Preston to go away to Huddersfield and start outplaying them or anything like that, but Preston stuck to their game plan really. We frustrated Huddersfield for large majorities of the game, you know, we kept it quite tight, and the goal that McGeady scored first of all to open the scoring was an absolute worldie. Definitely a contention for goal of the weekend in my opinion. He managed to jink inside 2 or 3 players and then rocket it into the top corner past Danny Ward. A fantastic finish from him, but it was getting towards the end of the game. It looked like the game was going to finish as a 2-2 draw, which of course myself being a Preston fan, I would have taken that. And then in the last minute, Huddersfield got a penalty, and I'd love to know what you guys thought of this penalty down in the comments down below. Basically what happened, guys, it was in the last minute and Hugill and Kachunga sort of got into a tangle with each other in the penalty box. They were having a bit of an argument, something like that. And then what it looked like to me was Kachunga sort of put his arms back around Hugill. Hugill sort of went to push him off. Hugill then sort of like fell onto Kachunga. Kachunga's gone down obviously like that. And then Hugill might have stepped on Kachunga. So Huddersfield then won the penalty from that. I'm not convinced it was a penalty, but, you know, feel free to disagree with me in the comments down below. All that I will say about that situation is that Hugill was foolish to engage with him in any way in the box, really. To give even the referee a slight possibility of giving the penalty was foolish from Hugill in the end. So I was absolutely good with that. Fair play to Huddersfield, they got the victory. And then for our next fixture, guys, we had Norwich City, who came up against Fulham. So we all saw Norwich's last performance, that 7-1 thumping of Reading, and I did say in my score predictions video that I didn't think that Norwich would actually be able to sustain that, you know, type of performance, and that was shown on this game today, of course, with Fulham coming out with the 3-1 victory. Even when Fulham went down to 10 men in this game, I still thought they were probably the better team. What we've been able to associate with Fulham this season, you know, their fast, dynamic sort of pace to their game, really was on show in this game. I didn't think that Norwich could contain them going forward in this one, and Norwich overall quite disappointing really, considering they've just come out of the back of that 7-1 victory. So quite a disappointing one for them. Fulham definitely still in the race for the playoffs. Will they make it? Let me know down below. And then for our next game, guys, another inconsistency going on with the results. We had Blackburn, who came up against Nottingham Forest away from home, and to quite a few people's surprise actually, from reading some of the comments down below of the last video, we had Blackburn who walked out with the 1-0 victory, and what a massive game, what a massive result that is for Blackburn Rovers, you know. If Blackburn were to lose this game and then lose the game on Monday, I would see that as probably relegation confirmed for Blackburn, but they have given themselves every chance of staying in the league with this victory over Nottingham Forest, of course. Last time we saw Forest play, they had an incredibly, you know, decent performance against Huddersfield. They were actually fantastic in their last game, so I couldn't really understand why they were so, I'd say, yeah, probably lethargic in this one, really. I just couldn't understand it. Their consistency just wasn't there for Nottingham Forest, and Blackburn managed to take full advantage of that. Blackburn really did stick to their game plan on this one, being hard to break down, limiting Forest to a lot of chances, and I think they actually scored from their only shot on target, so it is definitely going to be fine margins in this league, and it's going to be very interesting to see who stays up in the end. Then for our next fixture, guys, we had Rotherham United, who came up against Birmingham, and in the end this one managed to finish as a 1-1 draw. So I actually did a poll in my last video as to saying, do you guys think that Rotherham will actually get any more points this season? And the majority of you did actually vote for yes, so fair play to everyone who did vote for yes, because of course they did get a point in this one against Birmingham. And I mean, Zola at Birmingham just really isn't doing himself any favours at the moment. I mean, no disrespect to Rotherham, but any side who's facing Rotherham from now until the end of the season, considering that they've already been relegated and they have literally nothing to play for, a lot of teams would be brandishing that as, you know, a guaranteed 3 points, but that was not the case for Birmingham in this one. Once again, it was a very disappointing performance from them, and Rotherham, you know, they're going to look to go into League One, you know, with a bit of momentum. They're obviously going to be having to rebuild next season if they are going to get back into the Championship anytime soon, but the one bit of quality I will give to Birmingham was the goal they scored. I think it was Fry who scored it. It was a very nice free kick indeed. And then for a very slim margin of victory, we had Sheffield Wednesday, who came up against Cardiff City, and in the end, Sheffield Wednesday managed to go ahead and get another victory at Hillsborough with the 1-0 victory. Now, I thought Cardiff actually didn't do too bad in this game, to be honest. I thought, once again, they stuck to their game plan in this one. They were making themselves very hard to break down, looking to catch Wednesday out on maybe a set piece or a counter-attack or something like that. But in the first half especially, they limited Wednesday to very few opportunities, and you did start to get this impression, I felt like, in this game, where it was going to be another one of those afternoons for Wednesday where they had quite a few chances but nothing would seem to get into the back of the net. But in the end, that wasn't the case. It was Forestieri who managed to get back on the score sheet, and he's going to be a massive bonus for them going into the playoffs from now until the end of the season, should they make them, of course. Having Forestieri fit and back in the squad and back within the goals is going to be pivotal for Sheffield Wednesday if they are, you know, going to have a serious contention in the playoffs this year. But it was a very nice goal. It was a diving header from Forestieri. A little bit harsh on Cardiff, but in the end, Wednesday probably were the better side. And then talking about a team who probably were the better side, that was the case in this game, taking place between Wolves and Brighton, where Brighton managed to leave with all 3 points with the 2-0 victory. Now, once again, it was Brighton's magic man, Anthony Knockaert, who was on the score sheet twice for them with 2 fantastic goals for Brighton. And really, when Knockaert is on form, there's just no stopping him. And Wolves, they weren't terrible in this game, but they weren't great from what we've seen from them probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I think that probably a lot of Wolves' performances recently, you know, their last 2 or 3 games really haven't been great for them, you know. Ever since they went on that decent run and they managed to clear themselves about 10 points above the relegation zone, we've seen maybe a bit of complacency from Wolves lately in their performances. Let me know what you think of that, Wolves fans, down below. Do you think that now Wolves see themselves as safe in the Championship, that they think, well, we've got no other reason to try, really? Because you could see that Brighton wanted it in this game a lot more, and really you could see them having that bit more quality as well. And for another game which is going to have a huge significance at the bottom of the Championship, we had Burton Albion, who came up against Ipswich Town, and Ipswich managed to leave with the 2-1 victory. And honestly, at the bottom of the Championship, this really doesn't leave Burton in a good situation. This now leaves them just 2 points off the relegation zone, with Blackburn, of course, and with Blackburn looking decent in their last game, getting a victory. That really doesn't put Burton in a good situation for this one, of course. An own goal as well from Luke Varney really didn't add to matters, you know, him being the ex-Ipswich player, scoring an own goal for them really didn't put them in a good position for this game. But Ipswich now do find themselves on 52 points, so, you know, Ipswich aren't going to go down this season. I think overall it's been quite a frustrating one, but if Ipswich can get more results like this from now until the end of the season and finish as high as possible, it might be a bit of a blanket over what has been a pretty disappointing season for them. And then going into our next game, guys, we had Newcastle United, who came up against Leeds United, and in the end this one managed to finish as a 1-1 draw. And I didn't think I'd be saying that, you know. I did go ahead and watch this game, and I didn't think Newcastle were too bad in this game. They weren't at their sparkling best, but saying that, I don't really think Newcastle have been at their best for quite a while now. I think that are cracks beginning to appear in this Newcastle side, because it would take a whole lot of bottling for Newcastle to not, you know, be promoted. I think from their next 5 fixtures, they need 8 points to guarantee promotion to the Premier League. So it would take a major slip up for Newcastle not to go up this season. But they are, you know, seemingly showing a few cracks this season. It was Lascelles who got Newcastle into the lead in this one in the 67th minute. And then we were getting towards the end of the game, you know, we're in like the 94th minute or something like that. Newcastle started wasting a bit of time, as any team, you know, in that sort of situation would. And then pretty much one of the last kicks of the game, we had Chris Wood getting his, you know, I think this was his only shot of the game that Chris Wood had. He managed to find a bit of space in this box and glide it past Darlow in the Newcastle net to level it up as a 1-1 draw. What a massive goal that could be for Leeds United. You know, they can keep their momentum going for the playoffs, of course. It is incredibly tight now around the playoffs, with Fulham really biting at the heels of Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds and Reading now. That point for Leeds could be massive for them, so fair play. And then from one side in the playoffs to another, we had Reading, who managed to go ahead and pick up all 3 points away at Aston Villa with a 3-1 victory. In the end, it was quite comfortable for performance from Reading in the end, I did feel like, and it was a massive needed victory for Reading in this one. You know, they were coming off the back of that 7-1 hammering they got last time out against Norwich, so it was pivotal that they picked up all 3 points in this game, because I don't know how many times I've stressed it in these videos, but going into the playoffs is all about going into them with momentum, and Reading are going to need to pick up, you know, a little bit from their away form than what they've shown recently, but this game is, you know, starting to get them back on the right track. I was a little bit disappointed with Aston Villa in this game, really, considering the good run they were on previously to this. I was a bit disappointed, you know, considering how good they've been at home this season as well. Players like Jonathan Kodja, Adoma, couldn't really get on song in this one. They weren't really linking up like we've seen them do so well this season, really, and Reading managed to take full advantage of that, so fair play to Reading. And looking at the championship table now, it's going to be very interesting going into this Monday. So guys, as for my result of the weekend, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Wigan Athletic for managing to turn that game around from them losing 2-0 at Barnsley and really giving them a legitimate chance of staying in the championship. My result of the weekend is going to go to Wigan Athletic. And then my goal of the weekend, I'd be interested to know what you guys had to say about this one, but honestly I have to give it to the magic man Aidan McGeady for his goal against Huddersfield. It was an absolutely fantastic effort from him. Just imagine he managed to weave his way through a couple of players and then smash it into the top corner. My goal of the weekend is going to be Aidan McGeady. So let me know what you guys think of that in the comments down below. But for now guys, we are going to talk over my score predictions for the games which are taking place on Monday. So let me know down below guys, what are your score predictions? I will be very interested to know. So kicking it off guys, we have Fulham who are coming up against Aston Villa, and you know, like I said, Fulham in a really good run of form recently. Aston Villa I thought were a bit disappointing last time out, so I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory for Fulham in that game. Barnsley against Brentford, I'm going to go ahead and go for a 2-1 away win for Brentford. I think they've been pretty decent lately. Birmingham against Burton, oh, this is a really interesting counter. I'm actually going to go for a 1-0 away win for Burton. That's an interesting game to keep your eye on for sure. And then we have a massive game going on at the bottom of the championship. We have Blackburn Rovers who are coming up against Bristol City, and boy, how am I going to call this one? I'm going to say this one's going to end level as a 1-1 draw. I think Bristol City have been looking very decent recently, but they've been looking decent at home. In terms of away from home, I think there's still quite a lot of questions to be asked of this Bristol City side. I think that Blackburn, would they take a point? I'm not so sure, but I'm going to say that one will end as a 1-1 draw. Brighton coming up against Wigan. Despite Wigan's good form recently, I'm going to go with a 2-1 Brighton victory. Cardiff coming up against Nottingham Forest, I'm going to fancy as a 1-1 draw. Ipswich are coming up against Newcastle. I mean, despite Newcastle bottling that game against Leeds, I'm going to go with a 3-1 away victory for Newcastle. Then we have Leeds who are coming up against Wolves. For this one, I'm going to go with a 3-1 victory for Leeds. I think at home, they've been looking very deadly recently, especially. Wolves have been going a bit off the boil recently. Preston who are coming up against Norwich, I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory for Preston in this one. I think Preston's home form, you know, in 2017 has been very good. Norwich's away form, not really so much. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory for Preston. QPR coming up against Sheffield Wednesday. Once again, every game from now until the end of the season is massive for Sheffield Wednesday, but I'm going to go with a 2-1 away victory for them. Reading are coming up against Rotherham. I mean, despite Rotherham getting that point against Birmingham, I just think that Reading will be a different outfit, and surely they've got to be a lot more focused in this one. So for that reason, I'm going to go with a 4-0 victory for Reading in that game. And then our last feature, guys, we have Derby County who are coming up against Huddersfield Town. Now, I have that impression that Derby are going to need to show a reaction, really, from that horror show they had last time out against Brentford. And at home under Gary Rowett, they have looked very decent indeed. They're unbeaten at home under Gary Rowett. So for that one, I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw for that game. Let me know what your score predictions are, guys, in the comments down below. So, guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So, if you have enjoyed, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, guys, make sure you subscribe for regular championship content. Make sure you get your comments in the comments down below for, first of all, your score predictions, and as well as that, what you thought of your team's performance this weekend, guys. But like I said, apart from that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.